you have to start talking.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're just going to wait for 1 more minute before we make our start. So if you need to go grab a drink or get yourself in any way, shape or form more comfortable, please do so. Hello, hello for those arriving. Just
hello.
waiting. Hello. Hi, Georgia. Nice to have you here with us. We'll be starting in just 10 more seconds or so. Louise, nice to hear from you. Hello, Katie. Really beautiful to have you all introducing yourselves in the group. So if you want to say hi in the chat, maybe say where you're from, any shares about how you may be feeling about joining this webinar today. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Neil. Neil is obviously a very familiar face at the Stress Management Society, but the women are taking over today, you'd be pleased to know. Okay. Hello, Cynthia, Karen, beautiful. All right, so we're going to make a start. And I just about say thank you, everybody, for being here. I want to just offer a quick disclaimer. Just to remind you, this may be a webinar for women's mental health.
Sorry, just bear with me a second.
Oh, if we could just make sure we're all in.
Oh, Ruth's muted. Can't hear her. Ruth's on mute.
No, not yet. Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yes,
Sorry, I think you're on mute.
Okay, so just in case you didn't hear me, I was just offering a really warm welcome to you all. Although this is a webinar focusing on women's mental health, it is open to all genders. So I really hope that amongst the women, we're going to find people who are from all genders engaging with us. I was inviting you all just in the past minute or two to introduce yourself in the chat, stating where you're from and how you're feeling about joining this webinar today. Yeah, so I'd really like to make a start. I'll be doing introductions shortly, but as this is an important topic, just want to offer out this space for you to reach out to our team who got Kevin in the chat here. He's been with us, and we've obviously got Neil. He is often the one presenting, but as this webinar is dedicated to women's mental health, we have the wonderful women of the Stress Management Society taking over today. So first of all, what I'd really like to start with is some questions, as you can see on the screen. I was wondering how many of you have noticed women struggling with their mental health? You can just put a hand up just to let me know. That would be beautiful. Wow, yes, I can see quite a few hands going up. And how many of you are interested in learning how to better support women? Anyone else? Yes, yes, thank you. And is there anyone here who hasn't noticed women struggling with their mental health or isn't interested in learning how best to support them? Okay, I can see some hands going up. Maybe that's not intentional, maybe it is, but either way, thank you so much for being here. This really will be an opportunity for you to ask questions, engage, and hopefully learn some valuable tools and techniques that you can take away. Just on that note, we have invited you all to engage and participate. So if you do share, we just want to make you know that recording is in progress and it will be available on our YouTube channel for others to access. So this could be a really powerful topic, and we really do invite your shares so we can learn more deeply. All right, so perhaps this is your first time here, perhaps you're a regular attendee, but we are a non-profit organisation called the Stress Management Society, and we do monthly webinars dedicated to helping people learn more about well-being, managing their mental health, and managing stress. And we are the sister company of International Wellbeing Insights, which is more involved with the corporate world. So our aim, as you can see at the bottom, is to create a healthier, happier, more resilient world. So welcoming back anyone who's been with us before and all those newcomers. So my name is Ruth. I'm going to start off with my introduction. It was meant to be facilitated mostly by the lovely Raquel, who took a flight to Portugal and arrived today only to find there's no internet signal. So unfortunately, she cannot join us today. She does some of our delivery of some of the sessions around stress management and well-being. But if at any stage she can join, I'm sure she'll pop in and say hi. So I myself, my name is Ruth. I've been working at the Stress Management Society for over a year and a half, and I also have my own business as well, where I create spaces for women to come together. These are known as women's circles, and they are really beautiful and powerful, offering this opportunity for women to connect to their truth, to their authenticity, to feel safe enough to express themselves and to witness the changes that they make in their life. It's transformative. So offering these spaces every month. I also do, maybe you've heard of it before, sound journeys or sound baths with various instruments that allow people to come more into a state of relaxation and rest. And when we know we allow that in the body and the mind, we promote more healing within ourselves. And then I've also got my lovely colleague Abby. So I'm just going to pass over to her and she can do her introduction.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a project manager at International Wellbeing Insights and the Stress Management Society. I also have a bit of a background in, well, I have a degree in psychology and a master's in neuroscience where I actually specialised in women's mental health. So I'm really excited to come and share some of my insights from that with you today. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Abby. It's really beautiful to have you with us here today as well with your shares. So very, very quickly, I would really, really love to see your faces here. It really helps us to feel like we're more connected and to be more fully present. I know that we live in a day and age when there's a lot of distractions on, but please, it'd be so beautiful to see you all. So if you could turn on your camera, that would help create more of that interactive feel. I will be inviting you to offer some feedback and answer any questions. So you will on occasion be able to unmute yourself and get involved. Otherwise, please make sure that you're muted so there are no distractions. There's also the chat box. So feel free, we've got Kevin in there who will be responding as well and feeding back some of your responses through the chat. And if you've got any questions, please pop them through. Thank you so much for those who are turning on the cameras. That's really beautiful to see you all. We'll just give each other a wave. Thank you. Okay. So again, just got some ground rules to help create a trusting space. So just be calling in your presence. Why are you here? What is your intention? How can you allow yourself to be more grounded, perhaps putting your phone away or limiting your tech, putting it on silent perhaps may help. And just really tuning into what do you want to get from this? What the energy you put in will help you receive more. So thinking about how can I participate fully? And being honest, and I know this can be really tough to be vulnerable and to share, but the more we step out of that comfort zone and start to share things that may feel a bit challenging, the more we realize actually we're probably not alone. And this is a safe space. And I ask that each of you keep whatever happens in this space, you know, as confidential and, you know, not go around sharing with everybody. We're also using I statements. So we may feel like we say, oh, you all, but this is only our experience that we can speak from. So just bearing that in mind when you come to do shares. And keeping an open mind as well, bearing in mind we've all had different experiences in life. How can we perhaps sit with something that may feel uncomfortable that someone says or does, knowing that's part of their experience? And how can we maybe learn from that? How can we take something of value from what others say? And if there's any, you know, confidentiality or safeguarding issues, we will have someone on hand, but mostly your welfare is of importance to us. All right, so let's move on. At the end, you will be receiving a free handbook. This will be offering you some supportive tools, and hopefully you'll find useful strategies in there for you after this webinar. Okay, so I'm just going to pass over to my colleague who has some useful statistics to go through with you. Up to you, Abby.
Thank you. So just to set the scene before we get started, so there's some really compelling statistics showing how much women suffer with their mental health, and there's some real gender differences here. And just to say before I read all of these out, this really isn't to dismiss or disregard any of the struggles that men go through. Men also have unique challenges, which we obviously explored in our webinar last month if you were there. But there are some cases where women do suffer significantly more, or at least the studies suggest that. So, for example, for every 3 cases of depression, 2 of them occur in women. 1 in 3 women experience clinical anxiety at some point in their lives, compared to 1 in 5 men. Women are twice as likely to develop PTSD, that's post-traumatic stress disorder, after experiencing a traumatic incident compared to men. And women are more vulnerable to stress and stress-related conditions. We have a slightly different stress response, so it just makes us more vulnerable in those experiences.
Beautiful, thank you, Abby. So those are quite interesting statistics, I feel. So I'd love to hear in the chat what you think around those statistics that we just shared, and perhaps they resonate with you, or perhaps you find something surprising. And men, if you're here on this call too, please get involved. We want to hear your thoughts around this. We've got women here of all ages, all ethnic backgrounds, all cultures, so diverse. So please share your views. But I'm really curious, why do you think women are more likely to struggle with their mental health? And at this point, if anyone's got anything to share, you're welcome to come off the microphone. I can see so much coming through in the chat, but yes, would love to hear with a bit more depth if someone's got something to share around the struggles that women experience.
Hi, it's Joanne here. I thought I'd be the
Joanne.
first, you know, make a leap and use the microphone.
Thank you.
I'm just a bit of history. So I'm full-time career woman. I have 2 daughters, aged 21 and 19. I'm a single parent, and a divorcee, or rather, as opposed to single parent. But my the girl's dad isn't particularly involved. So, but I just wanted to say, I think that we absorb as women. We're so empathetic, and we absorb the feelings of people so strongly. I think we perhaps don't have those boundaries that are healthy sometimes, in terms of the emotional burdens that we carry when loved ones or friends and you know, family have problems. We look to try to solve for everybody. And I wonder if that contributes to, you know, having a burden that then leads to mental health challenges and problems.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And one thing that really resonated with what you were saying is, not only are we the caregivers, but it sounds like we have more than just caring for our family in life. But, you know, maybe 20, 30, 40 years ago, we would take the children to school, or we cook dinner, and we would primarily be within the family role, but now we're expected to also maintain our jobs and our well-being, and it's layer upon layer, plus the fact that we are more in touch, I think, with our emotions and feelings. So there's so many layers to this onion, as we say. Is anyone going to else? We could take one more mic if anyone's got anything to share. It'd be so beautiful to hear what else you've got to offer.
I've got something to say on this. So one of the things that's popped into my head about this, because someone's talking about childbirth and being the carer, I think there's some of this as society, because I don't want children, and yet you're forced to take on that emotional labor, particularly of men. And it's not pleasant. I don't, in the nicest way possible. I want to help people where I can, but I'm not a carer. That's not my natural inclination. That's not who I am. And I think society really pushes that on women. You should be caring, you should be the emotional support. I can try my best, but that's not naturally who I am. And I think that's some of the problems with this is when you're also expected to be hardworking, you're meant to be, in my job, you're meant to be really strong, you're meant to be all this. Then you're also getting this emotional labor thrown on you. It's a lot.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that as well. Might be coming in adjusting. It is really interesting because we, like I just touched upon, we as women, not so many years ago, had this expectation that we were to bear children, and society has shifted in many ways, but still there is maybe a pressure that we may feel we take on if we don't have children, if we've made that decision not to. Thank you. Is there, Kevin, is there anything that was coming through in the chat predominantly, or anything that we could share?
Well, we had some people saying about how even though they might stay silent, it can be emotionally laboring being a carer, and that's often not looked at. It's also hard. A lot of people are saying juggling work with day-to-day tasks with family. So a lot of the things that you've mentioned as well.
Thank you. And have we had any men feedback, their thoughts around this question?
I have not seen any men replying yet. I could be mistaken, but I haven't seen anything.
Okay, not yet. So let's see. Thank you. Okay, thank you. You can see beautiful comments still coming through. So please, also be present to sharing in the chat and reading the other responses. Okay, we're just going to move on. So we did talk about the gender gap, and I've seen that in the chat it come up about hormones. So Abby, are you gonna want to take over here, or would you like me to?
Yeah, that's fine. So there's loads of reasons for the gender mental health gap. There's far too many for us to put on one slide. However, from a really big study that was conducted in 2016, the main things that came up were genes and sex hormones, which we'll explore a little bit later, increased vulnerability to stress, lower self-esteem, increased rumination and shame, gender inequality, and women experiencing higher rates of trauma. And again, this isn't applying to all women. Some men experience very low self-esteem, or they ruminate a lot. These are just the generalizations that have come out from some larger studies.
Okay. Oops. It's not coming. Thank you, Abby. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much. So let me just bring on the next slide. We're going to focus on, perhaps you've heard of the yin and yang energy. If you have, just pop that into the chat. They say yes or no. Okay. And you can also share perhaps what that may bring up for you when you think about yin and yang energy. Does anyone want to come onto the microphone and share what they first think of? Have you seen a symbol that looks like this? Just waiting for some comments even in the chat to come through. Yes, see, lots of people have heard of this. Okay. No, some people haven't. Anyone want to share their thoughts on yin yang energy? Oh, hello, thank you.
Hello.
Lovely.
I think I remember it as being one side was the female negative energy and, you know, the men being the light, positive, outward energy. That's not how I see yin and yang, but that is what I remember it being about.
Beautiful. What an interesting perspective on it. So I don't know if that resonates with anyone, but I can definitely see in the group chat, male, female. I'm going to offer my perspective on it, and I see it very much as the masculine and feminine. And I identify as a woman, but I have masculine energy within me. And, you know, I know many men, and I recognize very strongly their feminine energy within them. And sometimes, let's just start with the yang energy. Sometimes has a representation, as the fellow speaker who just jumped on talked about, and the light, but that could also be referred to as the sun. We think of the sun as quite a strong energy, and when the sun is out, we're more active. You think about the summertime, we're like busy doing because it's nice weather and we want to go out and we want to do stuff, and it brings us almost this strength that we feel. So that's perhaps what we think of the masculine, doing, action. Sometimes with men, they're more physically well built and allowing them to be stronger. And then you think about the yin energy, and I identify that with more the feminine, allowing us to perhaps tune in with ourselves, that intuition, the feeling space, the flow. The masculine can be quite direct, like let's do this, which we need in life in order to take action. Whereas they also need the other side, the balance of just flowing and tuning into our bodies and seeing what actually feels right. Let's take time to rest. Let's take time to soften. So I don't know if that's resonating with any of you. I'd love to hear if you feel, if you're connected to perhaps your yin energy or your yang energy. So again, if anyone wants to come on the mic, you can share. Yeah, someone's just sharing the left brain and the right brain philosophy. Exactly. There is our creative side. There is also our logical side. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, if anyone's got anything they want to bring forth, or Kevin, if you're seeing anything come through for the yin yang energy, that would be lovely to share. Let's go back one more before I pass it.
So we've just got a lot of responses about the masculine and feminine, but we've also got a response from Carol saying she thinks masculinity and femininity are not necessarily to do with a man or woman.
Exactly. Thank you. And that's why at the beginning I brought in, these are just elements that are within each of us. I have my masculinity within me, and I need that. And it may be if that's what you're looking to offer, or if you have another way of maybe explaining that, please jump on the camera. It'd be great to hear from you. But yeah, I honor my masculinity. I need that, or I wouldn't get many of my tasks done. We'll be delving more into how we can use the masculinity and use the femininity within us in a moment. Okay, we're just going to hand over again to my colleague.
So as well as understanding masculinity and femininity from the yin-yang perspective, we can also take a more scientific approach in understanding this, in particular by looking at the hormonal cycle. So while men experience quite regular fluctuations in their hormones across the month, women experience a whole range of different symptoms. So as you can see on the graph, we have all sorts of different fluctuations, all sorts of different hormones changing throughout the month, which has a really big impact on our mental health. So in particular, so this is quite a complicated graph. We don't need to go into loads of detail, but estrogen and progesterone are two of the key female sex hormones, and these play a really big role in modulating our mood and emotions. And so there are times of the months, for example, in the middle around day 14, that there are huge peaks in estrogen. And so our mental health tends to be a bit better. We tend to be a lot more energized. We tend to just feel better. We're more socially motivated. And our mood is just a lot higher. And then after that, you can see that there's then a huge crash in estrogen. So that's the purple line. And there we might experience a real crash in our mental health. We might start feeling a bit low. We might start struggling with anxiety a little bit. And, you know, the latter half of our cycle is really associated with poorer mental health. So, for example, the rise in progesterone, the red line, that's associated with irritability, anxiety, frustration. And I think it's really empowering to be aware of this, because you can just, I guess, be aware of the fact that you might need a little bit more self-care. Some days you might naturally be feeling a little bit lower, and that's okay. And we can work with our cycles, not against it. There's also some really interesting studies that show that this hormonal cycle changes our susceptibility to different mental illnesses. So, for example, if you experience a traumatic event in the latter half of your cycle, where we're more prone to mental ill health, you're much more likely to develop post-traumatic stress disorder than if you experience it in the first half of your cycle. So I think there's lots of different relationships with different mental illnesses like this, but I think what it really shows to us is that when we can work in tune with our bodies and just be aware of the different vulnerabilities and susceptibilities across the month. And just one final thing on this, it obviously is a generalization. Not all women will experience this, and not all women will experience it across 28 days. And so I do just want to say that this might not be your personal experience, but it's something that a lot of women do experience. And then I think if you don't necessarily resonate with the scientific perspectives of this, we can also understand it from more being in tune with our bodies. So this concept, whilst it's relatively new in the scientific world, it's actually been around for centuries. And I think Ruth is now going to share, I guess, the less scientific perspective on this that has been around for years.
Hello, everybody. So thank you so much, Abby, for that perspective. Just wanting to call to mind that this is going to be unique for everybody. And some of us don't even have a womb. We don't bleed, or we maybe have an irregular cycle. So just taking a moment to really honor that and know that these are just guidelines. And I'm actually going to move into talking about the inner seasons. Perhaps some of you have heard of this before. Maybe some of us have even finished our menstrual cycle and are in the menopausal years. And I just want to remind you that we can still find so much value in attuning to our bodies as women. Before we move on to that section, though, I just want to kind of weave everything together that we've discussed so far and bring to mind, we've talked about the yin and yang energy, and ask you a question. And if anyone's willing to come forth and maybe invite you to share, are you feeling more in tune with your yin energy or your yang energy? And perhaps bearing in mind, sometimes if we're too caught up in the yang energy, we do live in a world that is still, in my opinion, quite focused on living according to the men's cycle, a 24-hour cycle. We get up, we wake up, we go to work, we do all the tasks, and we come back. But as Abby has just explained, we fluctuate as women. And maybe you are in tune with your yin and you've learned to work with your cycle. And perhaps if not, maybe you're very much in that yang energy and you're feeling burnout, you're feeling stress, or you're feeling overwhelmed, or you're even disconnected to your body because you've kind of had to be, because you just have to get on with things. And perhaps you're on contraception, and that on some level has taken you away from being more in tune with your body. So I don't know if any of this is resonating with you. I'd love for you to be able to offer some shares if anyone is feeling anything or has any questions and may want to offer it even to the group. Okay, maybe the chat is busy today. If you've got anything, you can just unmute yourself. Okay.
Hi there. Hi,
Hello.
hi. Yeah, it's quite interesting reading the chat. I don't know if anyone's read or come across Dr. Mindy Peltz. So she's written a book, Fast Like a Girl, and she's just released a book, Eat Like a Girl. And so she highlights the importance of being aware of where you are in your cycle and using fasting and natural foods to keep your hormones balanced. And so she gives actual guidance and information and teaches you how to balance your hormones. And interestingly, it is for menopausal women to have their hormones balanced as well as perimenopause or premenopause. So balancing hormones is important for all women, regardless of where you are in your stage of life. And interestingly, she highlights that ovarian cancer and also breast cancer are mainly linked to imbalanced hormones.
Interesting. Wow. Thank you for sharing
So it's a really good, interesting read. She's on Instagram, posts loads of things all the time, and what she says makes sense, and it's quite useful information for women to follow and try to balance their hormones.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it'd be really useful if we want to share that book in the chat. I think there's some people expressing interest. Thank you. And you're right, it's about creating balance. And this will be an underarching theme of what we're going to be discussing. I think, is it Georgia that you put your hand up to share? Yeah. If you unmute yourself. Hello, lovely.
Yeah, I just want to follow on from what Maria was saying, because I find that a really interesting topic, and I think it's something that we're only really starting to like discover about the menstrual cycle and its different phases, and it might come in handy for others on the call, but I have an app that's called Lively, and it tracks your menstrual cycle, but what it also does is it gives you information on the terms of like what you should be eating at different stages of your cycle, and what exercise you should be doing and what activities you should be engaging in. So when you're in ovulation phase, for example, that's when you're going to be you're going to have more energy, you're going to be more or you, generally speaking anyways, you're going to be more switched on. So engaging in like group activities and social activities are really good to do in this phase. And then, for example, when you're in luteal phase, which is the back end of this graph, it kind of says like, you know, have more like calming days or spa days or like bath days and things like that. But I find it a really useful tool to kind of actually help inform me what I should be doing at each sort of stage of my menstrual cycle. But yeah, that app is called Lively. Yeah, and it's free to download.
Thank you, Georgia. And I feel like you could just do the rest of the webinar because that's what I was going to be talking about. So no, but beautiful. And what you touched on was actually so key, is that it feels, and you know, I'm in my early 40s, but I only discovered what I'm going to be talking about next, the menstrual cycle awareness and inner cycles. I discovered that in my late 30s. And I personally felt quite programmed to feel very disconnected from my bleed, my menstrual cycle, to feel a sense of dread, perhaps at times I felt a sense of shame. And as soon as I discovered this information, so much changed about the way I lived my life, the way I communicated with others, the planning, and Maria, you talked about the way I ate, the way I would schedule my life so that I was better prepared for myself and others to show up. And I brought up a lot of anger, a lot of frustration. Like, why wasn't this information available to me? Even marketing, we're taught we have to use tampons. Why are we taught to use tampons rather than natural products which are healthy for our bodies? It's to make money, right? I mean, everyone's absolutely willing to choose as and what they need, but I think there's only more and more options becoming available to us in the past few years, and I'm really, really grateful to have discovered some of these things now, and that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this information. We're going to be touching upon, let me just bring up the next slide, and you can let me know if you've maybe seen something like this before. So you may have heard of, I've actually done another template, which I will send to you. The one I've got created has a moon. So you're going to have to imagine some moons here, okay, as we move around this wheel. But you can see we have got winter, spring, summer, and autumn. So it's the seasons of the year. And we're going to refer to the winter season as the time when we would typically get our bleed. And this would be when we have the dark moon. So if you don't have a womb, if you're not bleeding, if your cycle isn't very regular, or if you're perimenopause, in your menopause years, you can actually attune to the cycle of the moon. And just drop in the chat, maybe you've heard of the inner seasons before. You can let us know, or if it's brand new to you, you can just say you've not heard of this. It'd be really interesting to get some perspectives here. Okay, thank you. I see some yeses. And this could be really useful even to share with your daughters, your husbands, your partners, your children, your sons. Like, let's educate the men in our lives, and this is a really beautiful visual to help represent it. So let's start with our winter. This is typically, and again, this will vary from woman to woman, when we have our bleed, our menstrual cycle. And it can last between roughly 1 to 6 days. And this is a time when we may feel very inward, very reflective. Okay, so you can imagine we have now in the Northern Hemisphere, we have our winter season, we're cold, we want to go inside, we want to nourish ourselves with warming foods and just take good care of ourselves. And this is really representative of the yin energy as well. And the dark moon is called, when we have the dark moon cycle, no moon in the sky, it's the darkness, this is time to go inwards and reflect. So can anyone maybe share in the chat any ways they may be feeling typically during their, if and when you bled, how you may feel within that winter cycle? I'd love to hear, are you more like busy, or do you just want to be cozied up? And I'll call out some of the answers. Anyone? Low self-esteem, not wanting to go out, comfort eating, yes, resonate with that. Depressed, tired, urge to hibernate, yes, again, aligning with nature's and the seasons. Yeah, Bianca, you put your hand up. Would you like to come onto the mic and share?
Hi, Ruth. Well, I suffer with endometriosis, so for me, the beginning of the cycle is always an extremely painful one. And it does allow me to be very irritable, in a lot of discomfort. So I would prefer the coziness, the warmth, and the trying to relax. And for me, it's hot water bottles. It's all the warmth side of things, but it does really affect my mood. It makes me very emotional, and sometimes withdrawn, because it's trying to explain why there is so much discomfort. I mean, most women suffer with it. Everybody goes through it, all the women in their lives, but those of us with endometriosis, it's sometimes slightly more impactful in your daily lives, I would say. It becomes a vicious circle, not just like you said, the 6 days. For some of us, that suffering is a lot longer of the month.
Thank you so much for coming on and sharing about that. And I really honor you as a woman who has to, I think, experience more of the wintering and challenges in life. And I'm curious, like, how do you think society, or how do you think, first of all, for yourself, you create a cycle that allows you to be more prepared for your winter? And does society feel supportive of that to you?
Oh, I don't think there is enough support. I don't think a lot of people know about it for a start. But I think Georgia, that app that she was saying, the Lively app, I've never heard of that. I think that's a good one. I'm going to try that, because there could be foods that might make things easier for me, might make the management manageable for me. But you just also brought up there about some women don't have a womb. That is now my next port of call. And unfortunately, I am still pretty young. So it's a big decision to make. But then, you know, I don't know whether that's going to have more of an impact on my mood after, because of the changes that are going to be within me as a woman.
Thank you, Dawn. Thank you so much for sharing that, and I really honour the journey that you're on and continue to be on, and yeah, just holding through that. I think there are, no matter where we are in life with our cycle, like I said, we can create practices and tools and activities that allow us to surrender to how we may feel. If you can imagine, if we're allowing ourselves to be in a winter for perhaps the whole cycle, each month, the whole 28 days, that means we're just going to be in the house, we're going to be taking it very slowly, we're not actually going to get anything done. And there are going to be times we want to move through this transitional stage and into what is called our spring. And for those who bleed still, this will be when you start to finish your menstruation and start to come into the follicular stage, it's called. And it's like, I imagine a little shoot, you know, in spring when you see the shoots coming up, and it's like that little burst of energy and you're starting to feel more alive. You're like, oh, it's like being flirtatious again with yourself and life, and you're starting to feel inspired and wanting to do things. So this is the time when you're coming out of your shell, perhaps a little bit more, out of hibernation. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but it's more energetic time. And I'm not saying to go full swing into everything, but just slowly creep out of it. And this would be, you could use this to tune to the moon cycle, which, in case you don't know, is around 29.5 days. So very similar to the length of a woman's cycle. So if you're not bleeding or bleeding irregularly, attune to the cycle of the moon. Get yourself a map or an outlay of what the moon cycle is going to be like. Look up at the sky, start to tune to it. And when you see that the moon's getting bigger and bigger, you can be like, okay, this is my time to start bringing my energy outwards a little bit more. And then we're going to move on to what is known as the inner summer. So this inner summer is where we're bringing the yang energy that we talked about before. It's when we're more outward, we feel the light inside of us, and we're more extroverted, we're more sociable, we want to do the things, we want to connect with others. You may find even you're making choices that are more conscious around clothes or doing your hair a certain way. And it's fascinating because this is also known as the full moon phase. And it's the time when we're going to reach our ovulation. And when you think about an egg, little tiny circle, it's the same shape as the full moon. So when we're at that, I love that analogy of ovulation, the egg ready to be, you know, potentially fertilized, or if not, then it's going to let it go away when we then would get our bleed again. But yeah, look up the moon and go, I'm in my full moon. How can I let myself shine? And this is a really good time to perhaps think about planning those activities. The social events, you know, if you've got a big task to do, you get your calendar and think, this is maybe more my time to do things. But if you're in your summer and you're noticing month after month that, do you know what, I am not feeling good. I am not feeling in my power right now. Reflect back, why is that? Are you allowing yourself to have your winter? Because we're not designed to go all the time. As women, we are not anyway. And then obviously we've got what is known as our inner autumn. And this could be a time where we actually see like little squirrels, they collect all their nuts and put them away and start to store them. And we have what is known as perhaps a clearing out phase. It could be we want to clear out things, people, relationships from our life. We want to release and let go. Maybe we want to sort stuff out. And this is like very natural, because what we know that when we come to our winter, we're going to be more hibernation, we're going to be more still, and we won't have the energy necessarily. So even prepping nutritious foods at this time can be really advantageous to us. So I'm really curious, again, this is a very generic term, but it can really help us to start to plan our diaries, plan our lives, knowing that we're creating times for rest, times for more outward activities. Does anyone want to jump on and share? Maybe you've used this before, this kind of inner seasoning, and how you may implement this on your own life, and anything you find insightful could share with others, perhaps. Or perhaps if you've not experienced this before, how it may feel to see it, you know, whether, as I said, even in the menopausal years, you can still use this to create a schedule in your life that feels supportive to you.
Yeah, I've never found that my menstrual cycle has, maybe it's because I don't know, maybe being on the pill or having like a coil and those kind of things fitted, maybe I don't have the same menstrual cycle as other people. It's not something I think of if I'm stressed. It's not, oh, where am I in the month? Or, you know, it's another factor being a woman that you have to think, oh, it's going to be worse than if I was a man because of my menstrual cycle. Yeah, I don't feel it's something that impacts my stress. We're all different.
Yeah.
You know, I've even had, so I suppose a stereotypical thing is for perhaps a partner, might be a man or a woman. Oh, must be, you know, the time of the month and things when things are worse, as we say. And I've never really, I guess I'm fortunate, I've never really had that. I don't relate to the menstrual cycle being a stress thing. I know it is for a lot of people terribly. For me, it's just more like, yeah, it's life factors, it's things happening that. So I'm struggling to relate to this, but I know a lot of people do, and I can see that in the chat. But
beautiful. No, thank you for sharing. And you know, this is the beauty of it in being a woman. We're all different. You know, we will all experience our cycles differently, but perhaps even using this knowledge to share with a friend or a family member, it really help them, inspire them to just soften into, what do I need and how can I balance this? So maybe you're here for this.
Yeah, I think, yeah, certainly I've got some friends that I can share this with, definitely. Yeah.
And a reminder, thank you, because, you know, as you said, you experience life challenges, but it's okay for you to not have any issues with your cycle and to just carry out your life, you know. This is the uniqueness of us all. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to, cautious of time, because I'd like a couple more shares, so just going to move through. Let's see. So, I would love to know, please pop in the chat, how do you tune into your body? And I really would love to hear, if there's anyone that might, I'd love to hear one or maybe two shares, we might have time for that. And then we're going to move into very quick body practice that you may find useful to use. Yoga, I can see someone coming through. Put your hand up if you'd like to come on the mic as well. Mindfulness, beautiful. Meditation. Yoga. Lots of yin as well. Yoga could be meditation, baths, beautiful. Okay, body scans throughout the day. Gosh, I think we all need to come together and have some well-being event, don't we? Okay, Maria, I can see you've got your hand up. Would you like to share something that a practice you use to tune into your body?
Well, I follow a blood sugar balancing nutrition plan. And so with so I limit the amount of carbs and sugar intake, don't have processed food. And so since I've been doing that for the last couple of years, then I do definitely notice that my hormones are more balanced. So there's less fluctuations in mood, in generally. And so I think ultimately that's what women should be taught to do, is to actually what the nutrition that they need to regulate their sugar levels to help them through life generally, because it helps with like hot flushes. And then if you introduce some exercise as well, even if it's calming. And then you notice you're more self-aware of your body. Definitely when your blood sugar is balanced, when you're not eating the right kind of food to support your body, you definitely feel more tired, more effect on your mental health. So I work with, I'm a health and wellness coach, so I do work with people to help them feel energized, and men and women. And the first thing they realize once they start doing a blood sugar balanced nutrition plan is the difference it makes on their hormones, on their bodies and their energy.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Maria. And that's it. It's like each of us, again, our hormones are all different in the cycle, and getting in tune with what actually nourishes our body is so key, whether that be the food we eat, whether that be what we expose ourselves to on a daily basis, the music, the people, nature, even living in a city, how could that impact our bodies and the stress levels as a result? But taking time, and I'm really curious, like, how many of us actually sit and take the time on a daily or weekly basis to tune in and listen? What do we need? What does our body actually need? And I know I really am passionate about this, and it doesn't happen every day. It's happened most days, but yeah, I'm going to offer just a few suggestions that we can use to move out of this space. And then we'll close with some practices. But some things I find really useful are massage, just taking a few minutes to massage the temples or somewhere around the neck and the shoulders, and just letting the body know that you're present. You may have heard of a body scan, which is also known as progressive muscle relaxation, where you start to tense and release different parts of the body. And eventually, if you repeat 3 rounds to the feet, the lower legs, the thighs, the pelvis, the torso, the arms, and even up to the face, after just doing that for 5 minutes, you'll notice some relaxation coming through. Obviously, mindfulness practices, thinking about 5 things we see, hear, feel, smell, taste. Shaking is an excellent tool for releasing stress in the body. I know there's certain situations I'm in, I literally now do not care who's looking, I'll just come out and have a good shake. And it's such a good reset for the nervous system. Dancing, getting on your favorite music, whether you're listening, but I would highly encourage intuitive movement. Again, if it's in your living room or your bedroom, whatever, just see what your body needs and flow through that. It can be such a good way for releasing stagnant energy. And I'm going to offer you just a few minutes of connecting to the breath, because this is one that we can do anywhere, anytime. Our breath is this life source that is always with us. And how often do we actually sit in practice gratitude or connect with it? And even just offering a really deep sigh can help to switch us into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is good for rest and digest. So I'm going to invite you, as we begin to close, to just find 2 minutes, that's all, of presence, and just be guided by my voice. Just noticing your sit bones, your body against a chair or the floor, wherever you may be. And just noticing the rise and the fall of your breath. Noticing the inhale and the exhale, how it flows in and out. And we know that as we exhale, the deep sigh can release some tension. So I'm going to invite you to begin this practice by, first of all, fully exhaling. And when you fully exhale, take a big deep breath in, filling up the belly and holding, and then softly exhaling, feeling your body soften on the exhale. Taking another round of a deep belly breath, a little hold at the top before softening fully as you sigh. I want you to do just 5 more of these in your own time. When you inhale, filling the belly, the rib cage and the chest space if you can. And when you're exhaling, see if you can exhale very slowly, trying to intentionally exhale longer than those inhales. Noticing when you exhale, if your shoulders drop, if there any tension in your jaw is released or the forehead, almost like a melting feeling. We'll be wrapping up by taking 1 or 2 more deep breaths in and letting go. And just simply pausing and noticing how that feels. Do you allow yourself to be fully present to that experience, or did you feel distracted? And that was just a short practice that you can develop in your own time. Knowing that's enough to reduce stress, to start to tune into any messages that may be needing to be expressed by the body. Don't know if you can see me. So just coming back to our breath, opening our eyes. I just wanted to close on that because that's a practice. That has so much value to it, and I would like you to take that away and maybe develop it. Start to come into a regular engagement, because you deserve to come into acknowledgement with your body, to listen and to share perhaps how you're feeling with others so you can feel more supportive. And they can support you because your well-being is to be respected. We are going to wrap up, and I would just like to finish by saying that you're worthy of embracing rest without guilt. When we rest, we feel nourished and we are more proactive. So finding a way of flowing that suits you. This could be something we're going to be providing you with a tracker that you can use, or obviously some of the beautiful women here have offered their suggestions. I invite you to explore those. And becoming in tune with your emotional well-being, perhaps by journaling. Again, we'll send you some more prompts of these that you can delve into a little bit deeper. Finding a ritual that suits you, perhaps on a daily or weekly basis, helping you to come back to you and your needs. Finding a way to honour your cycle, whether you bleed or not. Create a cycle that you feel is supportive to your life, and come back to your intuition. Let's see, so we will be sending, as I said, a booklet that may be useful to you. We also have some books that we recommend called the Women's Brain Book and the Flow. You know, Maria's recommended one, she highly recommends. I'm definitely going to check that out too, so thank you. I've also got a website. I hold women's circles. If anyone does want to engage and receive any more support, you can reach out to me personally, or obviously the Stress Management Society. We're always here on hand. Yes, so you can pop onto our website. And let's see what else. If you haven't signed up to our newsletter, please do so. We're actually going to be thinking about expanding this, so we'd love your feedback. If there's anything you resonated and want to know more deeply about, please just drop it in the text box, or drop us an email. We'd so love to hear from you, what you find insightful, or perhaps something we want to expand upon. And if you are in the corporate world and would like to become part of our sister company's monthly meetings and fortnightly newsletters, you can just sign up. We also offer Wellbeing Protect. I'm not sure if any of you have heard of this before, but it's like our most popular training programs in mini bite-sized chunks, and they're super cheap and super insightful. So if you or your company want to learn a bit more about excelling under pressure or burnout and stress, these are really beautiful tools to use, and they're virtual. And we're obviously doing a code for you guys, so you get 50% off the package for 1 month until the end of the year. And yeah, I would love to just close with 2 minutes. If anyone's got any support they may need, you can find our support resources here. if you would like to donate to our charity. We do run only by donation, so anything would be much appreciated to continue to do this work. And I would like to close, if anyone's got anything they'd like to offer, share, you can share in the chat or come onto the mic for the last minute or two. It'd be lovely to hear from you. Yeah, I see someone's got their hand up. I want to share. Otherwise, thank you so much for being with us. And Abby, would you like to jump on and say goodbye as well? I'll just hand over her to Abby. It's very beautiful to hear her perspectives on this too. So thank you, everybody. It was really such a blessing to have you here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been really amazing. That was really lovely, Ruth. Just to say, I've seen a lot of debate in the chat about all of that, and so I put some resources in the chat for you to look at where we got some of the information from this session on. So you're more than welcome to go and look up that. And yeah, I think that's everything from me. So thank you. If anyone else wants to say anything, please feel free to jump on.
Thank you. All right. Have a lovely day, and may you go connect with your breath, your intuition,